Carl and Liam here from Brrrains A Head-Banging Life with episode 2 of Getting Goosebumps. In this one, we're going to be covering episode 3 of season 1, The Cuckoo Clock of Doom, directed by John Bell. Of course, episode 1 and 2 was Haunted Mask, parts 1 and 2. So that's all done in one video, hence this one being an individual standalone episode that I have no memory of. I don't remember ever seeing this episode when I was younger or reading the book.
Really? That's quite surprising because I'd rate this as quite a famously known episode.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I just, yeah, I would.
There was one point where I had a nostalgic flashback, and it was when the cuckoo head is turned around the first time. And I remember thinking, maybe I have seen this, but that was it.
I think it's mainly like a lot of the episodes in the first season, I think are like some of the more memorable ones. And I'm surprised, yeah.
Well, this is, whereas the Haunted Mask was, we could accurately point it and say, well, look, that's a horror story. This is not so much the case, I think, with this one.
It's debatable, yeah.
But did you like it?
I think the concept is interesting, but yeah, it's a bit hit and miss in places. But we'll touch on it, I guess, as you go through the story.
Okay. A young boy named Michael, played by John White, is bouncing a basketball down a road. It knocks into some bushes, and when he goes to get it, he hears children laughing. He then follows a trail of ketchup. It is clearly ketchup that he maybe mistakes for blood. There's a lot of it, so Jesus, guy, that's trouble. And it's a jump scare opening, as his younger sister Tara, played by Kristen Bone, scares him with a sock puppet in the bushes. It's the first black screen moment.
You mentioned in the Haunted Mask episode how that's quite common early on, and how it normally points to like no real danger because that never happens early on. And another episode we're going to touch on in another future episode, The Girl Who Cried Monster. If you notice in the beginning of that, they actually both start identically in that there's a sibling scaring another one with a prank inside a bush. It's exactly the same opening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if R.L. Stine like had like a sibling growing up or something that he used to prank, or they used to prank him, if that was like an inspiration, because it seems to be quite a running theme of like clashing siblings.
You are right. There's always one older or one younger, often in many stories, and you're right. It's almost always clashing.
Even in the Haunted Mask, you've got the annoying younger brother, haven't you? So,
yeah. She calls him a credge, and I went, "What the fuck's a credge?" Thankfully, she does actually explain it. It's jerk spelt backwards.
What a credge. I told you he was a credge. That's jerk spelled backwards, you credge.
I don't know. I will say right now, Kirsten Bone, who plays the young child Tara, she's great. I wanted to kick her. And that says a lot.
Yeah, I've got that here as well. She's a proper little shit. You know, she really, you do feel like the anger that the brother feels towards her. Can't blame him for the things he does, basically.
Yeah, and she even now we're not done. She squirts ketchup in his face and then laughs. He chases her back home, but he ends up getting in trouble with his mother as Tara lies. She's quite young. He's the older brother, and obviously the mother believes her over him.
She's so manipulative, like she knows exactly what she's doing. And I think obviously as we grow up with siblings, you can't, especially like sisters, and the mother would normally take the side of the sister. You know, I think we kind of, can relate to that a little bit.
Yeah, well, we can. We flash back to Michael's 12th party, and Tara embarrasses Michael at his party. He calls her Tara the Terrible. And the big moment is she trips him up while he's carrying his birthday cake in, and he falls face first into it.
Michael, take this inside. I'll go get some candles and you can make a wish. I already did make a wish, but Tara the Terrible is still here.
I want to feel nice.
It's slapsticky as fun, but I did laugh.
She probably can't believe her luck because there's no way she could have like planned that to happen. It's just when his face went in the cake, she probably can't believe her luck,
And obviously Michael's friends all laugh at him, as any other children at age 12 would as well.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah. Out of the flashback, he sees some men are carrying in a big clock. The dad of the house says it's magical, and apparently the clock's secret has yet to be discovered. Yes. And Michael activates the clock, and a cuckoo comes out. But this cuckoo is got glowing red eyes, and I was a bit like, well, that's just fucking weird. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's like, you've got young kids there, but, you know, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I like the idea of this really ancient, old-fashioned clock. I think there is something creepy about that.
Yeah.
As like, especially when you're younger, you know?
Yeah, my initial thought was, why is this called a Cuckoo Clock of Doom? That's a grandfather clock. Like, that was what I first thought, but obviously it has got a cuckoo.
Yes.
That night, Michael overhears his father telling Tara off for touching the clock, and he devises a plan. His plan is to sneak down, damage the clock later, know it, and thinking Tara will obviously get the blame. So that night, he sneaks down, and they're trying to make this clock look ominous with angles and shots and stuff like that. And it's like, guys, it's a fucking clock.
Yeah, in terms of like childish fears, I think this could be scary to like a young child. Like I said, it's a little ominous, I guess, you know.
There's a couple of jump scare moments here, like tree banging on a window, stuff like that. When the cuckoo comes out, what he does is he twists the head around and obviously he's like, yeah, Tara get in trouble for that.
Have fun explaining this one, Tara.
Big flaw in that plan. Big flaw. Tara's too short to reach that clock, that cuckoo.
Great point. Yeah.
Yeah.
If she just said, if that had gone through and the father had questioned it and she just said, there's no way I could reach that, Dad, he'd be like, you know what, you're right.
Yeah. The next morning, he excitedly comes downstairs to find his parents are setting up for his birthday party, his 12th birthday party that was 3 days ago. He thinks they're joking, but the party plays out exactly as it did. He does remember, though, what happened with the cake. So tries to change the events, but ends up with cake on his face again. This time backwards. He gets tripped backwards, and the cake goes frontwards. Yeah.
And that's, again, I think, a reoccurring theme in some of the episodes is that of like difficulty to actually change things that kind of like will happen anyway. Yeah, like in a future episode of, say, Cheers and Diets kind of got a similar thing to that, where you can alter it, but it'll ultimately end up the same way type of thing.
Okay. That night, he apparently tried to tell his parents, but obviously they don't believe him. We then get a dream sequence. Woo, this is not good. As he's being chased by the clock. It's very silly. The effects are bad. And his acting isn't great here. His running acting. And the bit where Tara's head comes out where the cuckoo should be had me just go, nah, that's dumb.
Yeah, I wrote down about the effects being really cheesy during the nightmare sequence. Definitely.
Yeah, it's definitely a budget thing.
I'd say the actor that's playing Michael, considering I don't know what effects they had if they had green screen or whatever, but he's doing his best to look as terrified as possible, whatever he's seeing.
And that's it. Whatever they were telling him, they were like, run, but don't actually run.
How do you think they described that? Like, the clock's going to be chasing you down a corridor. Like, okay, Mr. Director, whatever you say.
What's my motivation? The clock is following you. Okay, yeah.
What happens when the clock gets me? I don't know. It crushes you.
He wakes up screaming, and his mom comes in thinking he's just excited about his birthday tomorrow. However, this time it is now his 6th birthday. So now we now know time is going backwards at an indeterminate speed, seemingly, because the first one was 3 days. Now we've gone 6 fucking years.
Yes, but see, I think there is some like, scariness to that whole concept of aging backwards to the point where you're like, will eventually cease to exist. So I think that maybe there's some fear to that, and the fact that the clock is obviously the thing causing it.
Yeah. It's a different kid playing him this time. And when he sees himself in the mirror, did you see the very obvious reference?
No.
He puts his hands in his cheeks and goes,
oh, does he? Oh, bloody hell.
And I went, oh, come on, film.
Oh, that's just lazy.
Yeah, it ain't great. But he does find out that Tara doesn't exist yet, and his parents think that Tara is his invisible friend. He then realizes, well, if Tara's gone, then naturally if he's gonna keep going backwards, he's going to disappear, basically. One night he'll go to sleep and I guess just won't wake up, just won't exist.
Yeah, freaky.
He realizes he has to turn the cuckoo head back around, but big problem, the cuckoo clock is gone because, of course, his father didn't bite yet.
Yeah, I just thought it was also like very fortunate that even though he was aging backwards and getting like really young and being 6 years old, he still like retains his 12-year-old consciousness in those bodies. That's like really lucky because it could have been obviously that he lost that and he became had the consciousness of a 6-year-old. But the fact that he managed to sneak out of his parents' house as a 6-year-old, go all the way down to the store, and then the parents find him outside the store, and I thought their reaction was quite like not as crazy as it probably should be. He's only 6 years old, for God's sake, and he like just went downtown to a store by himself.
Imagine your child just gets up, leaves, and walks off down to Dover.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking like from my older perspective of being like a dad, of like if my child did that, I'd be like, what?
Yeah, and that's the lead in where he decides at his birthday party to leave his friends behind and go down to the antique store. He sees the actual clock in the window, but the antique store is closed because the person's on holiday. And of course, as you said, this is where his father catches up with him and isn't as unhappy as he should be. More just like mildly, what are you doing, Michael? Why are you here?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of stuff. There is a weird sequence as this though, which is the hobo / pedo that starts to approach him, right?
Yeah, that's definitely a weird one, but don't know what they're thinking.
Well, he stops the kid and he's like, "Hey kid, you got the time?" I mean, no, clearly he doesn't. And then he's like, the idea is he's approaching the kid and the hand on the kid's shoulder is supposed to be like, "Oh, it's the bad guy," but it's not. That's what it's Michael's father.
Hey kid, you got the time?
That's obviously a massive pun though. Got the time. It's about a clock.
Oh God, yeah. I
There's
didn't even
actually
think of that.
some funny moments in this one. I don't know if you know this one, but it's when he first comes back as a 6-year-old and he sees his dad, and his first word is hair.
Oh yeah,
because his dad knows his hair. So I thought that was quite funny actually.
I didn't write it down, but the kid that plays 6-year-old Michael is on point. I think he's brilliant in this, and particularly in the next set of sequences, as he's trying to stay awake and basically he's badgering his parents about what's been going on. And he acts in the most depressing way where you'd be like, we might need to get him to a doctor. As he's just like, yeah, good night, not good night, goodbye. I'm going to be gone in the morning. This is a 6-year-old.
Exactly.
That's some scary shit. They just like, oh, maybe they check his head. Oh, he's not running a temperature.
That's why I thought it'd be like a bit of a giveaway, because he's obviously got that older consciousness. They might like notice he's acting a lot older than his age,
Don't argue over me. It's not worth it. I'm not going to be here much longer anyhow.
The next morning, he wakes up but finds he's in a crib. He's a baby, and to make the matters worse, he cannot talk. But happily, his father suggests they go for a walk downtown and comes up with the idea, and Michael comes up with the idea that as a baby, if he reacts happily to whatever they say in regards to going to the antique store, that'll encourage them to go. Clever idea.
It's clever, but it's some luck. Like that didn't work. He'd be completely screwed.
Yeah. Happily it does. He gets out of his stroller. His parents go off to look at some tables, and he gets out of his stroller and makes his way towards the clock as it counts to the moment the cuckoo will apparently come out. This is done in a massive, like, tension-based scene as he's climbing stuff up and the clock's getting closer. And then as the cuckoo comes out, his father sees him and rushes to stop him. It's all like, is he going to make it? Is he going to make it? But of course he does. Turns the cuckoo clock head round.
Yep.
But one important thing happens in this scene. During his attempt to climb up the clock, the clock has years running down the side of it. So like 87, 88, 89, stuff like that down the side of it. He knocks one of the years off. I think it is 1987 he knocks off. And that's important. Didn't think much about it at the time, but it will come into play at the end. as the moment he turns the head round, he's snapped back to his own reality, his own 12-year-old body. And obviously he's very happy about it, hugs his parents, and then finds out that Tara isn't there. In fact, she doesn't exist. She's not in any of the pictures, and her room is an office now. The year that he happened to knock off was the year that Tara would have been born. So obviously when he got sent back through time, it skipped that entire year because it wasn't there on the clock, and Tara was never born.
Yeah, there's one of those darker twists.
He's quite happy about it.
Yeah, it's obviously something that really pleases him, but if you really think about it, I think it's like quite sinister. I mean, in lots of ways, there's lots of like repercussions to it, because he's practically like choosing to kill his little sister. I mean, he's making that choice to not fix it. So that's like murder, basically, in a way.
He knows she exists. He has consciousness of her. And he says, oh, one day I'll go back. Maybe I'll go back and fix it.
But when? When he's old? Or will that make him young? Or will she come back out as like a child, you know?
So Tara has never been born. I suppose there's some way to go back in time and get her, right? I guess I probably ought to do that. And I will. One of these days.
Could be a really strange one.
It is. But there's the episode. I quite liked it in the end. I kind of quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's why I was surprised you didn't remember it, because I remember this being one that I really liked younger, and obviously it's got the cheesy effects and it's got some issues here and there, but I think like as a concept, this creepy old grandfather clock that can send you back in time, it's like a pretty neat idea.
It is. Maybe a little bit too easy, a little bit too easy to get sent back in time. But
a bit more straightforward than maybe like some other episodes, but still a solid concept.
Yeah, it's got solid acting. There's some good characters in it. The parents, we didn't really touch upon them, but the parents are in a lot of scenes, and they're kind of fun. The father particularly seems to certainly enjoy chewing the scenery, and he's like got a big old grin on a lot of his face, like he's like, this is fun.
Yeah, that's some of the funnest aspect of Goosebumps is certain actors that like really have a lot of fun in the role, and yeah, he's definitely one of them.
Oh, yeah. The next episode we do after this, talk about adults who are clearly enjoying their role, will be that. Anything else to add?
I had something, but I've lost it.
Oh, okay. Season 1, episode number 3 of Goosebumps, the Cuckoo Clock of Doom. Let us know what you think of this one in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?